see more perfecting our practice through observation PD. So we want to have an opportunity to go over the rubric that has been used when you were observed before in-house. We want to give you an opportunity to see it. So we have 2 packets here for you to go ahead and check out. While we're going through this, you can kind of look at the first page in that packet. We want to give you a bit of information about what the rubric is. First of all, the rubric is not punitive. The rubric is a data tool to kind of give us information where we are in our school-wide teaching strategy. So understanding where we are as far as this rubric is concerned, in-house, in loop. This does not go to your impact, but it's a support to help us see where we are so that we can be in compliance for the essential practices. So this should be able to help us to get to where we need to be for our observations for impact. The components of the rubric, we have our standards and objective, which is our board configuration, the warm-up, explicit vocabulary, and the exit ticket. So on the rubric, we have 3 categories or 3 possible scores, 1 for ineffective, 2 for in progress, and 3 for effective. Okay? So we're going to kind of go through what the rubric is for us. Why do we have it? We want to make sure that we have some standards set aside for what good teaching looks like at Loop. And so the teams have gotten together and tried to come up with that, like some key points to look for, and the rubric is an expression of that. We do want to have an opportunity to include what is not included in the rubric. So as you're going through it, if you have some ideas of things that you do well that you would like to be observed on as well, or things that we know that teachers are doing here that's not included, we can definitely have that discussion about adding those things. The rubric is a living document, so we can make changes to it and additions as needed. And so I will give it over to Mr. Bellamy to talk about the standards.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Okay, the first thing that I want to talk about today is the essential lesson component. And the one that I want to talk about first is board configuration. Okay, we, as Ms. Mohammed stated before, okay, there are 3 categories here that we will be, that there are 3 scores that we can receive: in effective, in progress, and the highest is effective. So we're not going to deal with the ineffective, or we're not going to deal with the in progress, but we want to deal with the effectiveness, because we believe that all of our teachers are effective or can quickly become effective. So as we talk about the board configurations, we're going to talk about 7 essentials that are going to be on the board. The first one is the date, the standard, the SMART objective, the essential question, the vocabulary, the exit ticket, and the agenda. Now, I feel as though the board configuration is very important because, number one, everything that you need is on the board and should let the kid know or the students know exactly what is going to be expected of them for that day. And the objective, which is one of the most important parts, should let us know, should let the student know where they're going. It should contain the verbs, and it should let the student know exactly what is expected of them. Now, a SMART objective, as a matter of fact, I'm going to ask you if you would look at the evaluation brief that's in your packet. As we talk about, it's in your packet, evaluation brief. Okay. As we talk about SMART objective today, can anyone tell me what you feel as though a SMART objective is? I know that you already know, but what is a SMART objective? Can you tell me what the S stands for, the M?
A SMART objective is specific,
Yes.
Measurable,
attainable, and
realistic,
together,
and time phase.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Okay, as I stated. Okay, so specific. It should let you know who, what, where. It should answer the 6 W's. Who, what, where, when, which, why, and of course the H, which is how. Okay? So, today, as we look at SMART objectives, and we look at the evaluation brief, I want you to turn to the second page. And we're going to look today at a non-SMART objective, and we're going to look at a SMART objective. Okay? Ms. Smith, can you read the non-SMART objective? The first under the column that says SMART objective examples.
Teachers will be trained on the selected, scientifically based health education curriculum.
Okay, will we consider that as a SMART objective? Or can you tell me some of the components that could be missing?
It's not specific.
Okay, it's not specific. Can you just tell us why it's not specific?
Because it doesn't tell you exactly what you're going to be required to do.
Okay.
What'd you say, Miss?
Measurable.
Okay, it's not measurable. Okay, can you give us a reason why, Miss?
Will be trained on selected. It didn't specify on what part.
On what part? Okay, very good. So now let's go to the SMART objective, and let's read the SMART objective, which is objective number 1. Okay, Miss Kat, would you like to read it?
By year 2 of the project, LEA staff will have trained 75% of health education teachers in the school district on the selected scientifically based health education curriculum.
Okay, Ms. Smith, can you tell us why it is a SMART objective?
It has all the 5 components: the S, the M, the A, the R, and the T.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we want you to use this as a tool. When you get your leisure time, you can go back to the first page and where it says overview of objective, okay, and read it. And when I did it at home, I came to find out that everything that was in the SMART objective was also in the overview. Okay, good. So we're going to move on now to the warm-up, okay? The warm-up, which is a very important part of teaching. The warm-up, okay? The warm-up should captivate the students. The warm-up should be a hooking instrument where it should pull the student into the lesson so that the teacher can do what they need to do in order to get the teaching and learning across. Okay? So now let's look at the rubric. As I told you, we're going to go over only the effective. Okay? Almost all students, 86% or above, are actively engaged in completing warm-up, and teacher successfully engages remaining students. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. 86% or above of our students should be engaged in order for us to get an effective score. And those who are not engaged, we, as being good teachers, we should also be pulling them into it. We should be re-engaging them, getting them focused back into the warm-up, or getting them focused into the warm-up. Okay, let's look at our next part. Okay, it says the warm-up completely aligns to the standard and either reviews the previous day's lesson or activate the background knowledge. So which means that the warm-up should be doing one or two things. The first thing that should be done, the first thing that it should be done is, if you're going to use it for the previous lesson, then you could use that to gather information about what the student knows from the lesson that you taught the day before. Or if you're going to introduce a new topic that day, this would be the perfect tool for gathering background information from your student. Okay? That moves us to the third part. It says students should be able to complete warm-up activity independently. Okay? That means without any teacher assistance, student is the one who should be doing it. It should not necessarily, it shouldn't be a group activity. It shouldn't be them working together in pairs, but it should be independently done. Okay? Now, warm-ups in my classroom, warm-ups are used also to assess what the student has learned. Also, one thing that I have found out, and that is that once a kid sees a warm-up, they begin to assess themselves also. For instance, the other day, Mr. Sonny gave a warm-up, and the first thing that Jerome said, oh wow, I remember the first 2 steps, but I don't remember the 3rd step. Then he said, but Mr. Sonny, remember I told you that I was having problems with the 3rd step. Okay, so Mr. Sonny gave him permission to do the first 2, but still tried the 3rd step. Also, students begin to assess themselves, because we had one student who said, hey, I wasn't here yesterday, I don't know it. And so then that gave us another step to talk to him about, well, why wasn't you here yesterday? What is more important than you coming to school? So the warm-up is definitely an instrument that we need to pay a close attention to, so that it can be used effectively in the classroom.
Now we're going to go on to explicit vocabulary instruction. Just to kind of summarize the points in this rubric, because there are a lot of them. In order to achieve an effective score, students are engaged in vocabulary instruction, specific vocabulary instruction. The instruction is aligned to the lesson and the content. We focus on tier 2 and 3 words at this point. You have clear instruction that's differentiated for understanding. So if students aren't grasping the words, what are we doing to make sure that they understand them? And we challenge the student with engaging activities. So we're not just giving the students the words and we never see them again. Are they having opportunities to re-engage with the words, to use the words themselves? Are they using them in their writing? Is there some way that these new words that you're giving students become alive in the lesson? Okay?
All right. And our last component of the lesson would be our exit ticket or our closing. We're going to actually look at 2 different exit tickets as soon as we kind of go over these parameters. So, exit tickets. All exit tickets require multiple sentences. To have an effective score, your student should be writing, and your student should be writing in complete sentences, anywhere between 3 to 5 sentences. If you're doing a chemistry lesson, you want to make sure that your students are, if it's maybe a problem, a math problem, they're working the math problem out, they're showing all of the steps, and even describing the steps as they work. The exit ticket should be aligned to your objective. So whatever it is that you are looking for in your objective, it should be able to be measured in your exit ticket. It should also always be aligned. Almost all of your students should show mastery. So 86% of your students should be able to show mastery of whatever your standard or your objective is. The way you find out is through your exit ticket for the day. Excuse me. That 86%, of that 86%, they should have mastery of 80% of whatever your lesson was. Okay. And you should have a clear criteria for evaluation. So say for instance, every day you have the same type of exit ticket. Make sure you have a rubric. Your students understand how they will be evaluated in their exit ticket or on their exit ticket. So exit tickets can do 2 things. You can either use an exit ticket the day before to push your learning, or your exit ticket, excuse me, I keep saying that, it can be used for your current lesson. So you can use your exit ticket for your prior lesson, day before, or it can be used to basically drive your instruction for the next day. Or you can also use it to plan today's current, well actually not just plan the current lesson. And then the last thing, this is something that happens often, I know to me. Make sure you have enough time for your exit ticket. Your exit ticket should take anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. Don't overload. Don't make your exit ticket too long and you can't get to it in that 5 to 10 minutes. All right, and that's the last part about your exit ticket, but I do want to also add one more thing or discuss one more part of the excuse me, of our rubric. Teachers include all 3 essential lesson components with appropriate timing. Meaning, make sure your warm-up is anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. Don't go over. Also, make sure your vocabulary lesson is anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes, and your warm-up, again,